Hello everybody, Stephen Howson here with Tony Park, Manchester United youth historian and author, and today we are going to talk about Will Keane. Will Keane has absolutely lit up the Under-21 league at the moment, 5 goals against Norwich, and at the time of recording he has got 10 in his last 7 appearances. Tony, tell the people about Will Keane.
I think what's interesting with Will is even when he was a very, very young player, he had this great ability not just to hold the line and bring other players in, but he had the maturity to read the game, and I think that's a very underrated quality. I think what people saw with the 5 goals he scored against Norwich was just one of those games where everything clicked. To be fair, Norwich were a very young side, but at the same time, Will took his chances. His reading of the game, as I said, is exceptional. I think he seems to have lost a bit of weight for me, and as a consequence gained that extra yard of pace that he'd lost when he first came back from injury. One thing for sure, he's full of confidence. I saw him after the game on Monday night and had a quick word with him, and he's delighted to be back at the club. He said to me, "I'm just so chuffed to be back here," and obviously with a record that he's got at the moment, I can understand why. Scoring goals isn't something new for him. He's been doing that throughout his career, and it's such an unfortunate thing. Often when you see people stall in their careers, it's really around injury, and with the injury he got while on England duty a couple of years ago, it wasn't just a slight injury, it was a career-threatening injury, and he's done fantastically well to come back. A couple of loan spells haven't worked for him. I think that's just so tough, getting a loan club correct. I'm not sure we got it right for Will, but what you're seeing now is a young lad full of confidence, wanting to play for Manchester United, knocking on the first team door, and Louis van Gaal should be looking very closely at who he's putting on the bench, because if we need someone to come off and get us a goal, I think Will's the guy.
Well, I have to absolutely agree. He did win Youth Player of the Year several years ago. I can't quite remember what year it was, but then he got the leg-breaking injury, and prior to that, he was absolutely on fire. I do remember watching him in the Senior Cup final, and I think Pogba played in that game. It was at the Etihad against Manchester City, and that night he was electric. And that was the sort of player that we saw. That was when he was a very young teenager. And it has stalled his career. And now people are looking at him and going, he's 22, he's never going to make it. And I absolutely disagree with them, because we've seen the likes of David Beckham didn't break into the first team until his early 20s. And I think Will Keane, especially with the striker situation around the first team at the moment, deserves and has earned his place on the first team bench. Do you think he's likely to stay around at the club and develop, or do you think he now needs to move on and get those first team minutes that he's worth, in all honesty?
It's a really interesting question, Stephen, because you've still got James Wilson down at Brighton, who people think a lot of. Whether there's a position at the club for 2 young strikers, in Keane and in Wilson, I don't know. My gut instinct says one will stay and one will go. However, I think you're absolutely right. Strikers, Anthony Martial aside, strikers tend to mature much later than perhaps defenders or midfielders. You've only got to look at the likes of Mark Hughes, was never prolific when he was 19.
Alan Shearer.
None of those lads were prolific when they were 19, 20. They were into their early 20s when they developed their physical stature before they were becoming, what I would call a Manchester United striker. So has he got the potential? Here's the thing with Will. I think you need to give him a run in the game, in the first team game. We've sent him out, we know what he can do. Give him a run in the side, give him 4 or 5 games, give him a run from the bench, and then make a call. And then for his benefit, he needs to say, I'm here or I'm away.
Thanks, Tony. So let us know in the comments below if you've been watching Will Keane, and if you've followed his career from when he first broke into the youth sides. Let us know what you think. Can he stay at the club and be a success, or do you think, like Tony's saying, it's going to be him or James Wilson and someone's going to have to leave town? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching. This is a 2-part review that we're going to have, where they cover the under-21s and under-18s. This is the under-18s. So Tony, under-18s, how have they done this season?
Well, considering we're bottom of the league for the first time in our history, I would say pretty diabolical.